So let's get this out of the way. Beautiful print. We love Van Gogh. We do not love the print placement.
Hi everyone, I'm Margaret, and I wanted to share a review of the tea rose dress in the Van Gogh sunflower print from the brand Selkie, which, as you saw, the one that I received did have a very unfortunate print placement, so I will be returning it, but I thought it would still be helpful to share a closer look and some details in case anyone else is deciding to buy a dress in the same cut in a different print, or is just trying to figure out the sizing and the quality of the cotton dresses from Selkie in general.
Okay, so just what are we getting here? So this is a 100% cotton dress. It's got a midi length skirt. It's a circle skirt style, so it's more slim cut towards the top and then it flares out. We have some pretty generously sized side pockets, boning around the sort of cups of the bodice, elasticated sleeves. I think you can wear them like up or kind of like milkmaid style off the shoulder. And it does have kind of a low square cut in the back with a zip and no stretch. As far as clothing goes in general, I'd say this is pretty comfortable. The skirt, of course, is like very loose, so really breezy there. The bodice on me, it's pretty fitted, so I can't take, like huge deep breaths or like if I eat a ton or I'm really bloated, this isn't gonna work. But again, that just comes with the territory of buying a woven fabric. The elastic on me does not seem too tight. Like you can see, I can move my arm around there. It's not gonna cut off any blood flow. But again, that's gonna depend on how the dress fits on you particularly. I will say that if you're like raising your arm like that, the sleeve will ride up, so you're going to have to pull it down again. But again, I think that's just something that's going to happen on pretty much any type of sleeve with this sort of elastic. It's not necessarily something specifically wrong with this dress's construction. So the sleeves are extremely poofy. We're talking like Laura Ashley vintage 1980s prom dress level like poof, which of course is part of why the dress is fun. But if you haven't done puff sleeves before, that might take some adjusting to. Like you can see, the sleeves are basically the size of my head. But since the skirt is pretty full and it's a very bright dress in general, I feel like the puff sleeves don't overwhelm it and it's a fairly well-balanced design in general. So even though I think that the dress is pretty flexible in terms of formality, if you're just going for, a fun, happy sort of outfit, I think that the boning that they put into the bodice combined with the fact that it's woven so you have to get an exact fit, there's no like smocking in the back or anything, that's going to limit like what sorts of shapes of torso it's going to fit really well. Because you can see here, it's a little bit tight on me across the bust, and it's kind of pulling there across the bottom, but having that extra line there while there's also the boning, I feel like it's just emphasizing the fact that it doesn't quite fit exactly. I'm not a sewist, but my first impression overall when I looked at the dress more closely was that it seems to be pretty solidly constructed. There were no loose threads when I turned it inside out. All of the stitching you can see is pretty neat. Everything's lined up and nothing feels, like it's straining or it's about to fall apart easily. But I will say that it didn't strike me as a particularly luxurious quality, even for a dress made of a more casual fabric. The biggest difference for me between the Selkie dress and dresses that I would consider a similar kind of niche or formality, so cotton dresses that are a little bit more extra or formal in style, is that it only has one layer for the skirt. So that's not necessarily an issue of how poofy it is. As you saw earlier, it certainly does like twirl very nicely, but that does affect how the finishing is on the inside, because here you can see that once the second layer stops, there's kind of nothing to sandwich the zipper into or any extra kind of joining like this. So it's just kind of flapping around. Again, the fabrics and stuff they used, I personally didn't find scratchy, but if you're the type of person who's a little bit more sensitive to that kind of thing in clothes, it is nice to have a second layer so that things can be hidden and it's a lot smoother, like on this dress, which is also inside out. The print resolution was fine for me. It didn't knock me out of the park, but it's also not like something that I have an issue with. It does definitely look a little bit blurry when you get much closer. I think that's something that comes across more in person than on camera. But for comparison, here is a dress from ModCloth that's also made of a woven cotton, and it's got a similar sort of painterly print, and I feel like the amount of detail that you can see in both of these is pretty similar.
Would I recommend this dress? Unfortunately, not this specific one in the sunflower print. If they ever do re-release their Van Gogh line, I think this is the second or third time that they've released this one, just because, you know, you might end up with this situation and it's not guaranteed that you would be able to exchange it for one that was a little bit better placement. The tea rose dress cut in general, I did like it. Not for me personally. I was hoping that it would stretch a little bit more flatteringly in the bust because according to their size measurements, this was going to be slightly tight on me for the upper bust measurement. But if it fits you, I think it's really fair for the price. You are paying up for it being produced in a WRAP certified manufacturing facility, so it is going to cost more than something that you might find at the mall. But I will say that if you are, for that price, expecting something that's going to feel luxurious, at least from what I've seen of this cotton dress, it's not going to be it. If that's what you're after, I would recommend, for the same amount of money, looking for a nicer brand of dress secondhand. So you can either start with something like Anthropologie or Free People, who make a lot of these kind of more fantasy, like inspired dresses. Or if you want to go vintage, Laura Ashley has a lot of these like puff sleeve dresses from the 80s that are really fun. But again, I do love what Selkie is doing. It didn't work this time. And while Selkie dresses are, at least to me, it seems everywhere on Instagram, they are not super common like out in the wild. So I would love to hear if you've bought a Selkie dress, either this same model or a different one. How did you find it? Did you like the quality and the style? Did the fit seem consistent with the description on the website? And how's it held up? So let me know in the comments, and until next time, take care.